Have you ever stopped to wonder if animals have souls? That deep gaze your dog has, or the mysterious way a cat seems to understand your emotions? Aren't just instincts, but signs of a spiritual life that goes far beyond what we can perceive. This is a question that arouses curiosity, fascination, and even a certain uneasiness, because it directly touches on our relationship with the beings that share with us not only physical space, but also affection, moments, and memories. Stay with me until the end, because what you'll discover now could completely transform the way you view animals and your connection with them. Many people spend years living with pets and sense, almost intuitively, that there's something more within these beings. Who hasn't been moved by the sight of an Esperanto dog eager for its owner to arrive home, or a bird seemingly reacting to our words? These signs raise a fundamental question. Do animals possess feelings as complex as ours? Is there a spiritual dimension we haven't yet fully grasped? And if so, what does this mean for how we should treat and respect the life around us? Within Spiritism, this question isn't merely theoretical. Emmanuel, a spirit who worked with Chico Xavier and left countless psychograph messages, offers us a profound and transformative perspective on the subject. His words are not just religious teachings, but philosophical reflections that invite each of us to reflect on the essence of life and consciousness. What you will discover now is the vision of a spirit who dedicated his existence to transmitting light and understanding, and who, surprisingly, helps us see animals from a new, more loving and respectful perspective. It's easy to underestimate animals, considering them merely instinctive beings or playful companions. But if there's a soul within them, something that evolves, feels, and learns, then our entire perception of these beings changes. Imagine understanding that your pet isn't just living in the present, but participating in a larger process, a spiritual journey that, in subtle ways, also reflects on you and the world. The way we care for, respect, and love these beings can have impacts that go far beyond what we can see or measure. And don't think this idea is just a distant theory. Many reports of people connecting spiritually with animals, dreams, intuitions, and near-death experiences suggest that there is indeed a presence that transcends the physical body. Emmanuel helps us interpret these signs. It's showing that animals play a significant role in our own evolution, bringing lessons of unconditional love, loyalty, and simplicity. Have you ever experienced moments when an animal seemed to understand your sadness, or even comfort you without words? This kind of experience is no mere coincidence, indicates that something very profound is happening, something that deserves to be understood. What if the answer to the question, do animals have souls, could change the way we relate to all living beings? If we understand that every look, every gesture, every presence carries an essence that transcends matter, perhaps our attitudes will become more compassionate, our choices more conscious, and our bonds deeper. Stay with me until the end, because we'll explore what Emmanuel actually said about this, and how these messages apply in surprising ways to today's world, connecting spirituality, science, and everyday life in ways few imagine now, before revealing Emmanuel's vision of animal souls. It's important to delve into the historical and spiritual context that makes his words so powerful and reliable, paving the way for you to fully understand the meaning of these messages, and how they can transform your relationship with the beings that share our existence. Have you ever wondered who Emmanuel really was? The spirit who accompanied Chico Xavier for so many decades, conveying messages that continue to touch millions of hearts to this day. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover could completely transform the way you understand not only spirituality, but also life around us, including those beings who share our daily lives and affections, animals. Emmanuel was not just an ordinary spirit, nor a distant guide. He became a reference in the world of spiritualism, a true mentor who helps us reflect on profound questions of existence, morality, and the evolution of the soul. For years, Emmanuel worked side by side with Chico Xavier, guiding, comforting, and clarifying doubts on topics that often seem mysterious or inaccessible. His psychographied messages go far beyond traditional religious teachings. They are philosophical, universal reflections that invite us to understand life from a broader, more compassionate perspective, deeply connected to what is eternal. You ever experienced moments when you felt there was something beyond what meets the eye? Something that provided learning, comfort, or even unexpected answers? Emmanuel dedicated his spiritual existence precisely to showing us that this dimension exists, and that we can learn from it daily. What makes Emmanuel so relevant is the clarity and depth with which he addressed complex subjects. Now, always in an accessible and loving manner. He didn't just answer questions, but provoked genuine reflection on what it means to live with awareness, respect, and empathy. When it comes to questions about animals, his perspective is especially striking, because it shows us that life is not limited to the physical body, but that there is an evolving spiritual principle in all beings. A path of learning that includes companions we often consider merely pets. What you'll discover now can change the way you relate to them, making every gesture, every care, is an opportunity for connection and mutual learning. Throughout his messages, Emmanuel explained that everything in creation is interconnected, and that respect for life forms reveals a spiritual consciousness that develops progressively. He teaches us to view animals not only as sentient beings, but as participants in an evolutionary journey, capable of feelings, experiences, and even influencing our own inner growth. This vision, conveyed through Chico Xavier's psychography, carries unquestionable authority as it combines spiritual wisdom, ethics, and philosophy, offering answers that often go far beyond what science or human logic can explain. Imagine understanding that every look, every gesture of affection, every bond with an animal is part of a greater connection, a learning experience that transcends the material. Emmanuel invites us to see animals as spiritual companions, beings who have something to teach us about love, loyalty, patience, and respect. Have you ever experienced moments when an animal seemed to understand your sadness or joy better than anyone else? This often intuitive perception is supported by Emmanuel's messages, demonstrating that animals possess a dimension that deserves to be recognized, valued, and respected. And it is precisely this authority of Emmanuel, combined with the depth of his reflections, that sets the stage for us to explore the big question: do animals have souls? Stay with me until the end, because we will delve into this answer in detail, understanding not only what it means for the spiritual world, but also how it can impact our daily lives and the way we relate to the beings that share this planet. With us, have you ever wondered if animals possess something beyond instinct? If within them lies an essence, a soul that feels, learns, and evolves? Perhaps you've experienced moments when a look, a gesture, or even the simple presence of an animal seem to convey more than mere affection, seem to reveal a silent, profound awareness capable of touching your very soul. Stay with me until the end, because what you'll discover now about Emmanuel's vision can completely transform the way you view animals, their feelings, and even their role in the grand scheme of life. According to Emmanuel, animals are not just beings of instinct or companionship. They possess a constantly evolving spiritual principle, a spark of life that, like us, journeys toward greater awakening. He explains that every living being, whether human or animal, participates in a cycle of learning and spiritual growth, and that even those who don't speak our words have feelings, understand emotions, and have their own journey of improvement. Have you ever noticed how some animals seem to sense when we are sad, happy, or worried? Emmanuel teaches us that this is no coincidence, but rather a manifestation of the spiritual sensitivity that inhabits these beings. The love, loyalty, and instinct we see in animals are concrete expressions of something greater, proof that they play a significant role in the life of the planet and in spiritual evolution. Every gesture of care, every display of loyalty, every form of affection they offer is not just a biological behavior, but also a profound connection with the divine, principle that permeates all life forms. Emmanuel reminds us that the presence of animals goes beyond the physical. They teach us about patience, generosity, compassion, and respect for life in its multiple manifestations. Have you ever had experiences where an animal seemed to understand your heart better than anyone else around you? Emmanuel points out that these moments are windows to understanding that life is much more interconnected than we imagine, and that every being that crosses our path has something to teach us. This perspective broadens our understanding of love and evolution, showing that not only are humans in a process of continuous learning, but that animals also follow their own path of spiritual development, and that by observing and interacting with them, we can learn valuable lessons about ourselves. And more than that, Emmanuel invites us to reflect on our responsibility toward these beings. If animals have souls, feelings, and a spiritual purpose, then our relationship with them should be guided by respect, care, and understanding. Every gesture of affection, every moment of attention, every act of protection is not only a form of companionship, but also an act of reverence for life and the evolution that unfolds silently around us. What you'll discover now may surprise you and, at the same time, inspire a significant change in the way you view animals and relate to them in your daily life. Stay with me, because Emmanuel's vision of animal souls leads us to question long-held certainties, open our hearts, and realize that the spiritual world is not distant or abstract, but present in every glance, every gesture, and every bond we build with these special creatures. And it is precisely this reflection that we will delve into next, exploring how this wisdom can impact our daily lives and how we understand the evolution of the soul, both human and animal. Have you ever stopped to think about the impact animals have on our lives, and at the same time, what we can learn from them about love, respect, and spiritual evolution? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover could completely transform the way you relate to the beings that share this world with us. Emmanuel, a spirit who worked alongside Chico Xavier, offers us profound reflections that go far beyond traditional religiosity. They invite us to look at animals and life in a more conscious, ethical, and compassionate way. In an increasingly fast-paced world focused on immediate results, we often forget to appreciate the silent presence of those who teach us daily lessons without saying a word. Think of your pet, the bird that sings every morning, or even the animals that cross our path on trips and outings. Each of them carries a spiritual principle, an essence that evolves, feels, and learns. Emmanuel reminds us that recognizing this dimension is fundamental not only to understanding the souls of animals, but also to developing a more respectful and empathetic attitude toward all life around us. Have you ever experienced moments when an animal seemed to sense your sadness, joy, or even anxiety? This kind of connection, which many consider intuitive or natural, is actually a reflection of the spiritual sensitivity that inhabits these beings. They teach us, often without words, about patience, loyalty, and unconditional love. What if we began to apply these lessons to our daily lives, our relationships, and the way we treat all living creatures? What Emmanuel proposes is precisely this, a practical reflection on compassion and responsibility, which leads us to act with greater awareness and care, recognizing the importance of each life in its fullness. It's not just about caring for pets, but about understanding that all life deserves respect. The way we interact with the beings around us, whether domestic, wild, or simply animals we encounter by chance, reflects our own spiritual development. Emmanuel emphasizes that every gesture of kindness and attention not only benefits others, but also transforms us, opening the way for moral and emotional evolution that is reflected in all areas of life. Have you ever imagined that small acts of care and respect can actually be powerful tools for learning and inner growth? In a broader context, these reflections invite us to rethink habits, attitudes, and choices. From the way we consume products, interact with nature, or treat the animals that are part of our daily lives, to the way we cultivate empathy and ethics. In our human relationships, each decision connects to a greater consciousness. Emmanuel reminds us that spirituality is not just a distant or abstract dimension, but something that manifests itself in concrete gestures, in respect for life, and in the appreciation of what is sacred in each being. And it is precisely this realization that prepares us for a profound change, understanding that animals have souls, feelings, and an essential role in the plan of creation leads us to act with greater awareness, love, and responsibility. Stay with me as we continue exploring how these ideas can be practically applied to our lives today. transforming not only our relationship with animals, but also our own spiritual journey, revealing a new way of seeing the world around us and the value of each being that inhabits it. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below with what touched you most, or share an experience you've had with animals that made you feel something beyond the physical, something that seemed to touch your soul. Every story, every reflection, every experience you share here not only enriches our conversation, but also helps others connect with these ideas on a deeper level. Your participation is essential because it is through your participation that we create a community of people seeking to understand life, spirituality, and the beauty that exists in every living being around us. And if you feel that Emmanuel's messages about animals, the soul, and spiritual evolution resonate with you like this video, this simple gesture helps the channel reach more hearts and minds, allowing more people to reflect, learn, and be moved by this content that connects spirituality in everyday life. Each like isn't just a number. It's confirmation that this kind of message has value and deserves to be shared. Furthermore, subscribing to the channel is a way to show that you want to continue following reflections like this, immersing yourself in content that inspires, teaches, and transforms. When you subscribe, you're part of a movement that seeks greater awareness, empathy, and connection with life and spirituality. It's a way to reinforce that these ideas don't just remain in the video, but spread, reaching more people and helping to create a world where respect for life and understanding of the souls of animals and humans is more present. So, as we reflect on these truths and the role of animals in our spiritual journey, consider how you can apply these teachings to your life through small, everyday gestures and the connections you build. And remember, commenting, liking, and subscribing isn't just supporting the channel, it's becoming an active part of a community that seeks to spread love, knowledge, and awareness to as many people as possible. Stay with me, because there's still much to discover about how Emmanuel's vision can transform our relationship with animals and consequently help us evolve as human beings, connecting spirituality, ethics, and affection in a way you may never have imagined before. Have you ever found yourself looking into an animal's eyes and feeling something you can't explain? Maybe it was the way a dog approaches you when it's sad, or the way a cat quietly nestles beside you in a moment of reflection. This kind of connection raises questions we often try to ignore, but which remain persistent. Do animals have souls? Is there something inside them that goes beyond instinct, something that feels, learns, and evolves? Yes. This question isn't just philosophical. It touches the core of how we understand life, love, and the responsibility we have for all beings who share this planet with us. What you'll discover now may reveal a hidden truth about existence, about how the universe connects all beings, and about the impact our daily decisions have on each life's journey. Thinking of animals as learning companions forces us to reflect on transformation and consciousness. Their every gesture a watchful gaze, a display of affection, a protective instinct carries meanings that often go unnoticed. Emmanuel, a spirit guide who worked alongside Chico Xavier, offers us a unique perspective showing that animals are not just physical presences, but parts of a broader spiritual plane. They participate in a journey of evolution, a mindset of continuous learning that connects with our own trajectory. The loyalty of a dog, the serenity of a cat, or the intensity of a bird observing us can be seen as expressions of this developing soul, as subtle signs of an existence that deserves to be understood and respected. The most fascinating point of this reflection is realizing that when we interact with animals, we are faced with silent, almost invisible, yet profoundly impactful lessons. The love they demonstrate is not limited to superficial interactions. It is a force that teaches us patience, empathy, and compassion. It's as if each animal carries an implicit message, a revelation about the nature of life, about how small actions can generate enormous transformations, both in ourselves and in the world around us. And these messages are not limited to those who believe in traditional spirituality. They touch anyone willing to observe and open themselves to the experience of life in its entirety. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the souls of animals also invites us to question our own choices, to reflect on decisions that impact not only our daily lives, but also the journeys of beings who depend on us in ways we often cannot even imagine. When we begin to see every look, every gesture, and every behavior as an expression of something greater, we realize that life is not just a sequence of events. It is a web of spiritual interactions, an intertwining of destinies that slowly reveal themselves through everyday experiences. The awareness that animals participate in this grand plan challenges us to act more responsibly, to cultivate respect and consideration in every detail of our coexistence with all forms of life. Have you ever wondered who Emmanuel really was and why his messages remain so impactful, even decades after they were psychographed by Chico Xavier? Stay with me, because this story goes far beyond what one might imagine at first glance. Emmanuel was not just a communicative spirit. He was a profound guide, a mentor who dedicated his spiritual existence to illuminating paths, providing answers, and provoking reflections that transcend time. His words are not just religious teachings, but true philosophical and universal, keys that invite us to understand life more broadly, connecting our daily lives with invisible dimensions we often overlook for years. Emmanuel worked side by side with Chico Xavier, delivering messages that touched hearts and minds, helping people see life from a more compassionate and conscious perspective. He offered us a detailed vision of spirituality, but in a way that was accessible, practical, and deeply connected to the human experience. Emmanuel's authority comes not only from his closeness to Chico Xavier, but also from the consistency, clarity, and depth with which his reflections address universal themes: love, evolution, responsibility, and especially the understanding of the soul in all its forms. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding Emmanuel's relevance helps us realize how his messages about animals, the soul, and spiritual evolution are not mere abstractions, but revelations that directly impact our decisions, our mindset, and the way we relate to the world. Emmanuel teaches us that every living being, whether human or animal, is part of a great journey of learning and transformation, and that recognizing this connection is fundamental to awakening empathy, respect, and a higher awareness of our choices and attitudes. He brings to light a truth that often remains hidden. Spirituality is neither distant nor inaccessible. It is present behind the scenes of everyday life, in simple interactions, in the silent gestures that reveal the depth of each existence, and it is precisely at this point that his authority manifests itself even more clearly. Emmanuel is able to translate complex concepts into messages that everyone can understand, making reflection on the souls of animals, on feelings and evolution, something tangible, close, and transformative. Emmanuel's greatest insight lies in the way he invites us to observe life with attention and sensitivity, revealing that animals are not just physical companions, but also spiritual beings engaged in a continuous learning process. Every look, every gesture, every behavior can be seen as part of a silent, meaningful language that teaches us about love, loyalty, patience, and understanding. It's fascinating to think that, through his messages, we can perceive patterns and truths that previously went unnoticed, and that these revelations have the power to transform our mindset, our decision-making, and even our own journey of self-discovery. The impact of this goes beyond spiritual life. It shows us how each interaction with an animal can be a reflection of our personal evolution. Emmanuel encourages us to see the world in a more integrated way, realizing that every being, every experience, and every relationship has a purpose, even if it's not always immediately apparent. By opening ourselves to this understanding, we begin to realize that our actions, however simple they may seem, carry significant and transformative consequences, both for ourselves and for the beings around us. And it is this depth that allows us to connect Emmanuel's legacy with practical life, with our daily decisions, and with the way we relate to everything around us. When we begin to absorb his messages, we notice a subtle yet powerful shift in our perception. Consciousness expands, empathy grows, and the way we view every living being, including animals, transforms organically. This is an opportunity to reflect on our own journey, to understand how small actions can make an impact, and how Emmanuel's wisdom, even psychographed so long ago, continues to offer fundamental lessons for modern life. Comment there. That makes sense to me. Have you ever stopped to really think about what the soul of animals means? We often live with dogs, cats, birds, or even wild animals without realizing that each of them carries an essence that goes far beyond the physical. Something that feels, learns, and evolves silently, accompanying a process of transformation that in subtle ways also involves us. Emmanuel, a spirit who worked with Chico Xavier, offers us a surprising perspective on this, revealing that animals do indeed possess a constantly evolving spiritual principle, spark of life that moves toward a greater awakening. This vision challenges traditional ideas and invites us to expand our mindset, realizing that the spiritual world manifests not only in humans, but in all beings who share this journey with us. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because understanding this hidden truth helps us see beyond the obvious. Emmanuel explains that every gesture of an animal, be it the loyalty of a dog patiently waiting for its owner's return, or the instinctive care of a mother for her puppies, an expression of feelings that reflect something greater. Behaviors are not just automatic responses or biological instincts. They are manifestations of a soul that feels and learns, that participates in a divine plan of evolution, much like the path we humans also follow. Every interaction, every glance, every form of care offers us an opportunity to perceive the depth of life and to understand that everything around us is part of a great learning journey. The love we perceive in animals, often silent and constant, is one of the clearest proofs of their spiritual essence. A cat that snuggles in your lap during a moment of sadness, a bird that sings in tune with your emotion, or a horse that reacts to your presence with attention and respect are, in some way, reflecting spiritual principles that connect us with universal values: compassion, loyalty, patience, and care. Emmanuel teaches us that these signs should not be underestimated. They are clues to the broader reality of life, showing that spiritual evolution is not exclusive to humans, and that every being, no matter how simple it may seem, contributes to the balance and learning of the planet and those who live with it. When we open ourselves to this understanding, we begin to realize how animals influence our own transformation. They challenge us to rethink decisions, act with more empathy, and recognize the impact of our actions. Every gesture of affection, every demonstration of respect or care becomes an opportunity to evolve, to expand our consciousness, and to connect with something greater. Emmanuel reveals that animals' loyalty, sensitivity, and even instinctive intelligence are manifestations of this ongoing evolution, and that by observing them, we can better understand universal principles that guide not only their existence, but also our own journey of self-discovery and growth. What makes this vision even more fascinating is realizing that, through the love and connection animals offer us, we are invited to reflect on life's profound questions. Each animal becomes a mirror of our own emotions, desires, and fears, subtly showing us how we should act to align ourselves with higher values. Emmanuel teaches us that spiritual life is present in every detail, behind the scenes of every day. Life in the simplest interactions, and that understanding this allows us to create more authentic, loving, conscious relationships with everything around us. And as we internalize this message, we begin to understand that care, respect, and empathy for animals are not just acts of kindness, but conscious decisions that have a real impact on our own evolution. Every moment of attention, every gesture of protection or affection becomes a small revelation, a learning opportunity that directly impacts our spiritual growth. It's impressive to realize how seemingly silent beings, whom we often underestimate, can teach us such profound and transformative life lessons, showing that evolution is not just a distant goal, but a constant journey, present in every interaction, in every choice we make. Comment there. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding Emmanuel's vision of the souls of animals leads us to reflect on how we can transform our own relationship with the world today. We live in a fast-paced society where every day, decisions and habits often distance us from a broader consciousness. However, if we begin to see each animal, whether a pet in the house, a bird in the backyard, or even creatures that cross our paths without us noticing, as evolving spiritual beings, our mindset naturally shifts. We begin to realize that compassion, respect, responsibility are not abstract concepts, but attitudes that generate real impact, shaping not only the well-being of these beings, but also our own inner transformation. When we apply this perspective to our daily lives, every simple gesture takes on a new dimension. Feeding, caring for, protecting, or simply observing an animal ceases to be a mundane act and becomes a moment of connection and learning, opportunity to reflect on our choices and their effect on the environment and life around us. Emmanuel reminds us that all living beings are part of a vast network of interactions, that recognizing this is fundamental to developing a profound ethical awareness capable of guiding our decisions in harmony with life. The love, loyalty, and instinct we perceive in animals are not just signs of affection. They are constant reminders that life is sacred in all its forms, and that each being has its own evolutionary journey. And this reflection becomes even more powerful when we consider the behind-the-scenes aspects of our daily relationships. The way we treat animals directly reflects how we relate to other human beings in the world. When we demonstrate genuine empathy and care for those who don't speak our language or express thoughts like we do, we exercise fundamental skills of understanding, patience, and love. This ongoing practice impacts our personal journey, transforming the way we make decisions, deal with challenges, and perceive reality. Emmanuel challenges us to see these hidden truths, showing that evolution doesn't happen only in grand moments, but also in the small gestures and discreet choices that shape our character and ethics. By internalizing this perspective, we begin to understand that responsibility and spirituality go hand in hand. Caring for an animal is not just a moral or emotional obligation. It's recognizing that each life carries meaning, purpose, and learning potential. Every decision we make regarding them, from ensuring their safety and health to respecting their space and needs, has real consequences, reflecting on the harmony of the environment, the quality of our interactions, and the impact we have on the world around us. This awareness sparks a profound transformation, for it forces us to take an active and deliberate stance on how we behave toward all forms of life, valuing what is often invisible to the eye but perceptible to the heart. The impact of Emmanuel's vision goes even further, connecting spirituality, ethics, and everyday life in a highly relevant way. At a time when the world faces environmental crises, conflicts, and disrespect for life in various forms, recognizing the importance of each being and the need to act responsibly becomes a revolutionary practice, capable of generating concrete change. The presence of an animal, its sensitivity, loyalty, and expressions of affection serve as a lens through which we can observe our own attitudes, our decisions, and the mindset we cultivate. It is fascinating to realize that, by caring for another being with love and attention, we are simultaneously strengthening our own evolution and expanding the understanding that all lives are interconnected in a great journey of learning and transformation. This reflection invites us to go beyond simply caring for pets or other close animals. It encourages us to consider respect and empathy for all forms of life, recognizing that each creature has a role in the realm of existence, whether apparent or hidden, immediate or prolonged. Emmanuel reminds us that by adopting this stance, we are aligning our daily decisions with universal values, allowing each gesture to become part of a chain of learning, compassion, and awareness. Spirituality, in this sense, ceases to be merely a distant concept and begins to manifest itself in practical ways, in the simplest acts, the most subtle interactions, and the choices that shape our journey. And so as we reflect on these ideas, we begin to realize that the impact of our relationship with animals is deeper than we imagine. Every action, every dedicated attention, Every demonstration of care and respect contributes to a cycle of evolution that encompasses not only animals, but also our own lives, our emotional development, and our understanding of the world. This realization broadens our worldview, reveals the importance of each being, invites us to cultivate a mindset that values life in all its expressions. Comment there. I'm on this journey too. If you've made it this far, I want to. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing yourself to delve into this. Reflection on the souls of animals and the wisdom of Emmanuel. These moments of connection and learning only make sense when shared, and your presence makes all the difference. If you felt these ideas touched you in any way, subscribe to the channel to continue following content that helps expand consciousness, foster empathy, and transform the way we see life around us. Leave a comment below saying, "I'm with you until the end," or something that shows you've made it this far. Because it's always inspiring to see someone who truly connects with the message. And if this content brought you any impact, insight, or even a sense of calm and reflection, leave a like, naturally, celebrating this exchange of energy we created together throughout the video. And look, there's a video right here that complements this topic, providing even more detail on the relationship between spirituality, evolution, and the signals animals give us every day. Click and stay with me there, because the journey we've begun together now has so much more to reveal, and each new discovery can transform the way you perceive the world, animals, and, most importantly, your own journey.